Hello, my fellow heirs, and welcome back for some more Epic 7 lore. I want to take some time here to go over some comments from my previous video about Chloe, Politis, and Bellion, and I think I'll probably make this a regular thing if there are significant comments that need addressing. I mentioned that Bellion could be trying to summon the Great One using the energy from the opening and closing of the Chaos Gates, but, and I'm probably going to get a lot of these names wrong, Dex Stricker informed me that it's more likely that the Great One that is being mentioned here from the Iron Doll story is referring to Mortalix. This prompts me to wonder if Episode 10 is going to involve Mortalix versus Bellion in some way, or perhaps Bellion is able to recruit Mortalix and force a fated battle between Mort and Ras. Again, all of this is pure speculation, but it does open some interesting doors to think about. Also, and this person's name is Krau's actual name, Rohil? I have no idea how to pronounce that. But they made me aware that in the Rima specialty change, she joins Chloe as a maid in the tavern at District D, which I forgot to mention in Chloe's story. Which is cool, but I don't think it changes the possibility of Chloe having an important role in the future. It does, however, beg the question of whether Rima will play a role in the future of Episode 3 as well. That could be really interesting as well. So, with that, let's get into today's topic. Today, due to popular demand and personal intrigue, I've decided to explore all that we know so far in-game about the mysterious High Priestess of the Holy Order of the Blue Cross, Angelica. As many of you are probably aware, there is much more to Angelica than meets the eye, but if you were simply enjoying the main story, you would never know this. The minutiae of her story is hidden within short scenes in other short stories, and therefore it is important to be cognizant of this in order to locate where these little tidbits of lore can be found. For this video, I'm going to focus on providing in-game facts in the order of which the side stories were released, so that you are given the opportunity to appreciate the ordering that Smilegate intended for us to learn each piece of lore. What I've discovered throughout this analysis is that as more side stories have been released, the past interactions we have with Angelica from prior released side stories have become more relevant. To be perfectly honest, I had planned to do a video on the Eulogy for a Saint side story detailing all the reasons why I and a majority of the community believe that it is by far one of the best side stories released, which is incredible considering that it was one of the earliest side stories in the game. I do intend to go back to this video concept, but while I was rewatching Eulogy after it was re-released into the Chronicles section, I noticed that there were hints of Angelica's true identity even before speculation started about her. When the Holy Order of the Blue Cross and the Mysterious Island side story was released, we followed the Holy Order and Yufine as they went on vacation to an island managed by Mui, an animal tamer who secretly wants to capture Yufine, being a dragon amongst other things. This side story, which was not advertised to have anything to do with Angelica at all, ended up opening her backstory wide open. So today I want to compile all of the instances where Angelica's true nature is hinted at, so that we are all up to date on her lore. Who knows when Smilegate will begin dropping more bombshells on us regarding her true nature, especially since they appear to only do this as a footnote in other side stories. So, I want all of you to be aware of where her lore is at the moment, so that you can help me scour any new side stories for new discoveries regarding her lore, especially since it's being hinted that somewhere in Episode 3 there is some form of angelic Angelica coming out. I don't have much of a theory about where her lore is necessarily going, but I do have some observations that would explain why she acts the way she does in certain situations. I would even go so far as to say that her lore, being so obviously concealed, could have immense ramifications for the broader narrative of Epic 7, of which I read many a theory on Reddit to date. If you have your own evidence-based theory on Angelica, do let us know in the comments below. Only recently had I been informed on Reddit, of course, that there was a tiny tidbit of lore about Angelica in the very first Christmas event, A Small Miracle, that many of you may not have even played. In this event, Ras, Arky, and Mercedes decide that they are going to help some of the other characters in Epic 7 have their wishes fulfilled, kind of like Santa, pretty much. The last character, Montmorency, states that in her letter that she wishes to be more like the High Priestess, as she looks up to her. So Ras, Arky, and Mercedes attempt to dig up information about Angelica's past, not just because they want to provide Montmorency with how the High Priestess became who she is today, but also to satisfy their own curiosities, because they realize that they actually don't know that much about Angelica either. What they find is strange, unexplainable, and unfortunately cut off by our heroes being unwilling to pry where they may not be welcome. They find their way into an abandoned Holy Order of the Blue Cross Abbey, where they search the abbey for clues. Unfortunately, there does not appear to be any record as to how old Angelica is, and in fact, they find a picture of her and discover that she has not aged for at least the past 20 years, since before the Archdemon War. They also find records of a girl with the same first name as Angelica, who was put under the Abbey's protection that was diagnosed with an incurable disease, and was not going to make it throughout the year. How curious then that Angelica appears completely healthy and alive. This side story is what got the wheels really turning for me when it came to Angelica's lore, and helped solidify a couple of aspects of her background in the story of Epic 7. To briefly run through her involvement in this story, Basque encounters Angelica in the forest as he is searching for Diane. Angelica states that she is not part of the Conclave, just a very powerful soul weaver who is able to put even the High Priest, Nord, to sleep. She assists Basque and later helps him heal Diane, and continues to offer her soul weaver healing abilities to Crow when they join up with the Tyrannor army. She is only present in the first, third, and the very end of the side story, and for the most part, her involvement later on is mainly healing soldiers. It is not her involvement in the plot, however, that concerns me, but her offhanded comments and under-the-breath remarks that I want to go into detail. It is important to note that according to her, she has yet to join the Conclave and become the High Priestess as we've come to know her as. When we first meet Nord, he comments that he recognizes Angelica by her appearance, which would suggest that Angelica was part of the church at some point in time, unless she's lying about not being part of the Conclave yet. Either that or Nord is just misremembering, which I do not think is the case because the dialogue in this game is quite deliberate in its presentation. If we recall what we learned during the Small Miracle event, we can conclude that Angelica could be the girl that was described in the Abbey documents, and that Nord was part of the clergy during that time, hence why he recognizes her. When Basque explains that Diane is a saint, Angelica comments,
"Oh, a saint! I haven't heard that word in a long time. They're back at that again, huh? Burying all their anxiety under a holy sacrifice before placing another new sacrificial lamb in the same spot once the body has been cleared."
This statement seems incredibly pointed for the situation, as if Angelica has something against the church, even though she has stated that she's not of the church and is simply responding to Basque's simple statement. Also, Angelica is suggesting that the church has done this at least more than once, which leads me to think that the church had reasons to create saints even before the Archdemon War. Either that, or Angelica exists outside of DJ's resurrection abilities and has experienced the church supplying saints throughout each of the world resets. However, it is to my knowledge that the saint was only created in the place of the heir of the covenant, being absent, which only happened in the seventh world. Chapter 3, Act 4 of the Elegy side story is where the meat of Angelica's hidden lore is located, especially considering the fact that this side story released early on in Epic 7's lifespan. It was by re-experiencing this story that many of Angelica's lines became much more meaningful, knowing what we know now. First off, Angelica says,
"Oh, this is such a pain. This is why I never use my powers."
Now, this could just be Angelica being lazy and waiting to retire, even before she started working as a high priestess, but I interpret this line as her acknowledging in a playful manner how powerful she actually is, or how problematic it would be if she revealed her power, even though she is simply a strong soul weaver. I think this is a subtle hint at Angelica trying to hide her true power behind perceived ignorance. Next, she introduces herself to Basque like this.
I'm Angelica Angelus.
The first thing that comes to mind here is, why is it necessary for her to be so awkward around her own name? Unless she's actually getting used to her name, and it was not originally hers. And when Basque asks Angelica for her age, she responds with, Curious, right? I wonder how old Celestials can be. Later on, Angelica says to Basque,
I thought you all held a strong belief ever to allow anything to bring harm to the people of Azeroth. Or do you have a different set of beliefs that would lead you to break that promise?
Basque replies that he's not religious at all, and that his interests lay in getting stronger to protect people. He continues on to explain that he would never say anything blasphemous in front of a conclave member, but Angelica isn't one, right? She, of course, responds with,
Is that the kind of boy you are? You must see those who dedicate their lives to their beliefs as foolish, then, Especially the kind of person who would sacrifice themselves for others, or even for complete strangers.
Near the end of the act, when Diane wakes, she says that they will need horses, and Angelica says that she can help. Diane thanks her, and she responds with,
Thank you. All is as the goddess wills it, is it not?
Is it not? Why would it not? Aren't you looking to become the high priestess of the Church of the Goddess? Is this something you should be questioning? In the final exchange between Diane and Angelica, she finds Diane repeating a mantra to herself and warns her.
Repeating the same words over and over inside will only amplify them, like echoes in a cave. And before you know it, they devour you.
After encouraging her to do what she believes, Angelica contemplates her actions.
What exactly was it she decided on? What could possibly be the results of my words today? Just like you said, long ago. Whatever happens, it's all the will of the goddess.
Like who said? Angelica, you're making it sound awfully like you don't actually trust in the goddess at all. That's quite curious. Unfortunately, with that, I must end this video prematurely, as I wish I could just pump out these videos all day, but with a day job under my belt, I cannot put all of my time into lore hunting as much as I would like to. Regardless, I think this gives us a good foundation on which to discuss what we've found. Now, the next video will be the second part where we explore the side story that opens up an endless number of theories, as well as a snide hint of a side story that I think is a firm message from Smilegate that Angelica is a character we should be constantly aware of in subsequent stories. So, for now, I bid you all farewell, and good luck in your own lore hunting. I hope this has spurred on a renewed search for lore on our beloved High Priestess. Do be careful in the comments about revealing new facts, as there may be some heirs that have yet to watch all of the side stories needed, so we don't want to spoil everything all at once. And if I have missed anything, which I most likely have because there are just so many side stories to sift through in this game, do save your comments for the next video where we complete Angelica's lore and the true discussion can begin. Like this video if you learned something new, and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to know when part 2 is released. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep it real.